something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are live, guys. Welcome to Fatherly Fandom. And, well, I gotta say, Matt, it's quite tense and dramatic to watch somebody from Germany have to defend themselves in another country for a terrible crime like murder. But
Yeah,
enough
I
about the
agree.
Nuremberg trials. Let's talk about
Whoa.
Anatomy of a Fall.
I see how I let it go this time.
Yeah.
I
Thank
didn't
you. Didn't
didn't
spoil
spoil
the
the
joke this
ending.
time,
Yeah.
guys.
This is a
It's great.
spoiler-free section, even with the
Right?
jokes. So,
Right. So, guys, we're going international today for our Oscar Odyssey in our review. So, what did you think of this new Oscar contender for Best Picture, Matt? In our spoiler-free review here.
yeah. So, couple of pros, couple of cons. What do we call We were laughing about this.
Prones and
Couple of
cones.
prawns and cones.
Prawns and
Um,
cones. Yeah, that's it.
my two prawns centered on the writing and the acting. I thought
Mm.
Justine Triet, who is both the
Brilliant.
writer and the director of this film, she wrote it with who's the other guy? Arthur Harari. And I thought that the writing was very inspired. It, again, like so many of these Oscar contenders,
Mm-hmm.
felt authentic, felt like you just sat right down in the middle of the courtroom and watched this procedural legal battle go through its course. And you got very realistic depictions by the actors
Yeah.
of the different
Very
courtroom
realistic.
participants,
Mm-hmm.
and of course the stars of the show, being Sandra Hüller as Sandra in the movie, and I have to mention her son, Danielle, played by Milo Mikado Grainer in the
Mm-hmm.
film. I think he did an excellent job, and really
Yeah, he did.
sold the. I keep using this word throughout our reviews, but the authenticity of the script, of the beautiful words, very dramatic, very compelling words written by Justine and Arthur there. So those are my two
Yeah.
pros. I think they did an excellent job with both of those things in this movie, Oscar caliber, and we'll get into that in the spoiler section. My
Mm-hmm.
cons are centered around the editing and the soundtrack. And
Yeah.
the the editing, I have to say, I felt like this movie could have been at least 45 minutes to an hour shorter.
Shorter.
Um,
Yep.
and to me, it brought me out of the movie so many times, just like, wow, I can't believe, like, this is going to be a 3 hour film, it's just going and going here. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't due to the plot line. A lot of it was just lingering shots where things were silent and literally nothing was happening on screen. How many times do we see Danielle at the piano, just kind of like looking down at the keys, not even playing them? And I realize
Yeah.
all of this is contemplative and we're meant to try to figure out what mysteries are going on inside the heads of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
But it was done so much that it made the plot line really slog along, in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
for a great majority of the film. Last con, the soundtrack, as I mentioned, Danielle at the piano. That's literally the only soundtrack we get in this
Pretty
movie.
much it. Yeah.
Yeah, is this child playing the piano, and as you can imagine, he's not that great at the piano. He
Mm-hmm.
gets better as the movie goes along, but a lot of the soundtrack is basically him
Mm.
practicing the
Yeah.
piano. And again, I get that they were trying to drop you into what felt like a very real world. So there's not going to be a grand orchestral background music
No.
to the reality of this, but at the same time, I've seen plenty of murder mysteries that do have
Mm-hmm.
great soundtracks, and it doesn't bring you out of the reality of the film that the creators are trying to make. So, anyway, those are my pros and cons. Chris, what about you?
Yeah. And for a murder mystery, I think this is my first pro, and it's I think we're gonna overlap here. Sandra Hüller's
Sure.
performance in this
Yeah.
definitely
Stand out.
stands out for sure, and almost we'll talk about it a little bit later. when we go into the nominations in this film, but she did a phenomenal job with this.
Yeah.
So that
Yep.
stands out for me. Just how palpable and how this movie made me feel anxious,
Hmm.
suspicious, nervous, just watching the damn thing. It did a great job
Yeah.
in the writing. So the writing was amazing.
Hmm.
Justine Triet, is that it? Or
You got it. Off
I got
first
it.
try. Yeah.
Sweet. Justine Triet did an amazing job writing and directing this film, getting
Hmm.
this made, and she was inspired by some real life things too that happened as well. And
Yeah.
I really did enjoy the story and how it leads. And I don't want to give anything away in
I
our
know it's
spoiler free
so hard.
section. It's
It's
really
a
hard,
mystery, folks,
but
so we can't really get into the plot details.
so I very much liked how they did the mystery. So those are my two pros. My cons would have to be for this movie. You said the
I said the editing and
how
the
long it was and
soundtrack.
the editing,
Yeah, right.
and for me, I guess I'm trying to think of like a good con. Um, Anything that really stood out as bothersome. And it's kind of the same. It's like it's a pro, but it is a con. Kind of the mystery
Yeah.
portion of this is a pro and a con to me, because
Mm.
we'll get into it for why. I don't want to. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but I did have a little bit of issues with that. I had a little bit of an issue with how the movie ends as well, and
Hmm.
it just leaves off on a certain note. It's like, oh, okay, it's done, and
Yeah.
I don't think that things wrapped up in a way that just brought the entire story all together as it should have been. I think
Hmm.
that there should have been more of an emphasis in a certain direction. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, I just didn't think it wrapped up in the way that it should. So the ending was a little, a
Sure.
little bit of a con for me. So that's what I would say. So let's dive into our thumbs up, thumbs down. What would you give this one? Do you think this is watchable for the general audience, or for people who like murder mysteries and things like that? Who's gonna like this
Right.
movie?
Yeah. So, general audience, I would say, probably will not like this movie because of the
Hmm.
length, and because of the pacing. I
Yeah.
want to say the pacing gets stale right after, and this isn't spoiling much, but right after the murder occurs at the beginning of the movie, or the accident. We won't spoil that for you. They go through a lot of procedural steps before we actually get
Hmm.
to the trial. And some
Yeah.
of that is interesting, some of it not. But it takes a long, long time just because of how they edited these shots. I felt like a lot
Hmm.
of the procedural stuff would have uh, sold better had it been edited together, with a lot more thought of like, hey, this stuff is also brought up in the trial. Why don't we just intersplice the
Those two things
scenes
together.
of right the investigation
Hmm.
with the trial? And we got a little bit of that. So I felt like some of it actually became redundant. And kind of I was watching and we're going through bits and pieces of the build up that led to the murder or accident. And like we've already sort of talked about this. We've already tread on this. Why are
Yeah.
we going through it again? And so, like I said, the pacing and some of the editing made it feel sluggish at times. So I don't think the general audience that likes mystery movies will like this. I think people that for instance, like Knives Out. I don't think that
Hmm.
that's necessarily the audience for this type
Yeah.
of movie. Both
I
murder
would say that's.
mysteries,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think you've got more of a type of Clue-esque feeling for
Yeah.
Knives Out, versus this being. I mean, I don't want to equate it to something like Gone Girl, because it's really nothing
It
like
has
that
been
film.
compared as a reverse to Gone Girl in a
Yeah,
way.
I that's perfect. Well said there,
Yeah.
brother. It's
Hmm.
yeah. So um I think what a lot of us need to take into consideration is the fact that as an American audience member, I've seen a lot of movies I just mentioned that are in that murder mystery genre.
Yeah.
And this is very much a genre movie, but if you look at a lot of the American crime mystery thrillers out there. They're very sensationalized. Like the events that occur in Knives Out or Gone Girl, they're
Hmm.
fun,
Yeah.
quote unquote, fun to watch, but they're not necessarily very realistic. That stuff like
Right.
that just really
Stylized.
doesn't occur.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Stylized. Even the courtroom drama shows, like
Hmm.
A Few Good Men, excellent movie. But
Right.
most courtroom actual drama does not involve a bunch of yelling and throwing stuff around, and it's
Nope.
nothing even close to that. So, Anatomy
No.
of a Fall goes for a lot of authenticity. And I think
It
that
really
it
does.
might, it might put off audience members that are used to
Yeah.
the more bombastic, sensationalized genre movies of American cinema.
Yeah.
So, um, what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think that if you are really interested in the court system and the legal systems of other countries, you
Mhm.
you might actually get something out of this too. And I did find that that was, I guess that's the pro of this is it introduced me to a different legal system that I was unaware of, that I didn't
Yeah.
really know all that much about, and how different it is compared to how it is in America and everything. So I found that very interesting. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I think that you might get something out of this one. If you're really into things being as down to earth as they can be, you might get
Mhm.
something out of this. But if you're looking for the more
Very grounded.
stylized mystery story that we are used to here in America, yeah, you're
Hmm.
probably not going to like this one as much. Agreed.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
thumbs up or thumbs down? What do you think?
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process, and
Yeah.
I found it intriguing and interesting in times. And
Hmm.
some of the elements is in the movie made me think a lot. And I like movies that make me think and that
Yeah.
cause me to question my own reality. And this one
Hmm.
does. It very much does, and it puts you in a certain perspective, which is amazing. And that's because of the artful story as well as the acting. And so, yeah, got to give it a thumbs up. Wouldn't give it two thumbs up, but a good thumbs up from Chris. What about you?
Eloquently stated. Yes. I agree with you, but I actually got to put my thumb right there, flatlined, not down, because the acting is so incredibly uh, just compelling to
Good.
watch.
Yeah.
And like I said, the story itself, when you
Mm-hmm.
get the plot beats, keep you guessing. Great
Yeah.
murder mysteries
Yeah.
always do. You never really know which way you as an audience member feel until the end, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
we got all those great hash marks
Lamp
of
Commander,
yeah, I know,
stop
of a
acting up,
movie.
brother.
So yeah, no, I think that those parts of it are great. Other parts not so much that I've already covered, and for that,
Mm-hmm.
it meets in the middle, and so I got to give it kind of a half measure
Half. Woo.
of thumb.
First one in our Academy run, guys. In our Oscar Odyssey here, we've got a middle finger, a middle thumb finger.
Yeah.
Not the other finger.
No.
No
That
birdies
would do a
flying around
disservice to
here.
the movie on all sorts
Yeah,
of
I
levels.
know,
But
right?
so, all right, what do you think
Justine
about it?
Triet, sorry.
Yeah. Are we ready to go into our spoilers section and finally be able to get some of this out on the plate? Oh, you
I
have one
think
more
we're
thing.
we're just about ready to go in the spoiler section. Before we get into that, right here in the middle of spoiler-free spoiler sections, I do have to make a detraction from last week, and Matt knows about this. And so I do apologize, guys. Last week, I had said on our episode of the Maestro that Carey Mulligan actually played in The Greatest Showman. Guys, I'm sorry. I was absolutely wrong. Apparently, I looked it up and I was like, I thought for sure that it was her, but it actually turned out to be Michelle Williams, who played Charity,
There
P.T.
you go.
Barnum's wife in the movie. And you can't fault me too much. At least I don't think you should fault me too much, because like let's pull up a picture here. I'm just gonna pull up a big picture right here. These are the two
Yeah.
actresses in question right here.
Right.
Carey
Which one's
Mulligan's
Carrie?
over
Which
there.
one's Michelle? Hard to
Yeah.
tell.
Michelle Williams is, right there over to the left.
Right
Right
there
is
to the
Carey
left.
Mulligan. To To the left, to the left.
Yeah.
Which one? Which one is which?
Ridiculous.
So, man, they were so similar. So, recalling The Greatest Showman, I love that movie. I thought for sure if you would have, put a gun to my head, that's Carey Mulligan.
How do they even catch them at the same,
I know, right?
outfit and hairstyle? Yep. I think somebody put both their faces on Justin Bieber or something.
I don't. Yeah, probably. That's his hairstyle right there. So who knows? So I do apologize for that. We're not perfect here. This is Fatherly Fan. We're two guys talking about movies that we love. Sometimes we'll make mistakes, but if things like this happen, I like to bring them up so that I can tell you guys that, yeah, I messed up there.
Easy to do.
Easy to do. That's very true.
Yeah.
But, guys, I believe that now it is time. We're all full-fledged, ready to go. Let's go into Anatomy Fall, the spoiler-filled section of this. We're done with our pros and cons, and we're ready to go. All right? Let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Get ready, people. If you haven't seen it, get out of here.
It's time.
Yeah.
Precise.
Another
Tell me
countdown.
everything about the day he died.
Too many counts.
I went upstairs to my bedroom. That's when I heard Daniel scream. Mama! That's it.
Okay. The autopsy report is inconclusive.
I think he fell.
An accidental fall is going to be hard to defend. Nobody's going to believe that.
I did not kill him.
That's not the point.
All right. That's not
I
the
don't
point.
know. I don't know if she did or
Did she do it?
We're gonna have to make our definitive ruling here by the end of this section, I think.
Oof, that's going to be quite the discussion, brother, because
Yeah.
yeah.
They talk about it in the
who
movie.
the
You've
heck
just got to
knows?
pick sometimes. Now's the time for us.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, if you guys didn't know, and if you haven't watched the movie, go watch the movie, for God's sakes. Why are you watching this?
Yeah.
Well, I know why you're watching this. You want to support us, so subscribe to our channel and
Thank you.
and like the page. So thanks for coming along. But if you haven't seen it, it is a murder story about a husband who falls out of their house due to nefarious circumstances, supposedly, and the wife, Sandra, has to defend herself without really any cause to, she can't be confirmed to have killed her husband, but she can't deny that she didn't kill her husband, so she's got to defend herself. And
Right.
being in that precarious place to where you as an audience member don't
Got to
really
make
know
that
as
decision
it's
as
going
well.
along,
Yeah.
which is very intriguing. So we'll talk about this as we go along, but as we've been doing, we're going to go through each and every one of the Academy Award nominations for this film, and this one actually got 5.
Yes,
5
it did. I
nominations.
find it just so inspiring that with 10 Best Picture nominees, so many of these films are not only nominated for Best Picture, there's a bunch of other stuff too. I mean, it's
This one, that one,
it's
the other one.
quite the upper tier that we have been going through over the last couple of weeks. So,
Man, sure seems like it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So starting off, number 1, film editing. And we touched on this a little bit in our spoiler-free section. If you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. It is contending with The Holdovers, which we'll be watching this week, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. We've almost seen every single one in this category.
Almost. We're almost there, brother.
Yeah. By the
So
end
close.
of February, I think we're going to have a great understanding of what amazing film editing looks like. So, Chris,
Yeah.
what do you think? How did this film do as far as editing goes, and how did it compare to the others on those lists?
Okay,
the others
editing
on
for
that
this
list.
one. And the person who was nominated from Anatomy of Fall is Laurent Senecal. I don't know if that's how I say it or not. But that's
I
who
can't confirm that one.
is up for the editing. It was okay. Again, like when I try to see what should win an award. It should be something that stands out, that's like, that was brilliant, that really propelled the story forward in a way that made sense, that made me like the movie all the more. And can I really say that about Anatomy of the Fall? I don't really think so. It was really one of your cons to begin with, so maybe that leads us to understand where you're leaning on that. But I'm of the same ilk when it comes to that too. It really didn't impress me all that much with the editing for this, and I agree with what you said when you said it. Like, this could have been truncated down quite a bit. There was a lot of stuff that they could have condensed or overlapped or brought together to make it a little bit more cohesive for the audience, so that we can understand as we're going along, as it's building momentum. But at the same time, I think that the intention of the story in the movie was to kind of halt your momentum too, and to kind of make you feel awkward and put out, like Sandra was throughout the movie, about going to trial, being put up on there, and having to defend herself too. It was really trying its best to make you feel tense and anxiety written, and be like, come on, let's get to that point. So maybe that was the whole point of how they edited this movie, was to put yourself more into her position as well. That's just a theory of mine, just one humble man's opinion. But what did you think there, Matt?
Yeah, I think some of the pacing choices were meant, as I stated in the other section, as like freaking light.
Lamp Commander.
So for those of you that don't know, I don't know why I forget to do this every single time. I have this voice activated light switch on this light over here that I use throughout the day, but I don't need it activated whenever we're recording here. But it takes all sorts of words that I'm saying and decides to I don't know, have a little personality.
Anything
not
other
like
than
what I was
Lamp
about
Commander
to say about the editing. I understand. Lamp Commander. Lights on. There we go. Apparently Lamp Commander thought the editing was great and disagreed with yeah. But yeah, so no, I think some of the pacing choices were meant to give us, the audience, time, just like the characters are taking their time to think about things and make decisions about what we've just seen. So I get that, but I think it was just done too much. And I think over the course of the 2.5 hours, 45 minutes, whatever it was, that it slowed it way down and felt over long by the end of it.
Yeah. If we come up to a movie here that we're going to review for the Oscar Odyssey, and it's like an hour and 10 minutes, I'm going to be like, yes, thank you. I can actually watch this in one sitting. This is great.
That director wins. Whatever they're able to pack into 110 minutes to make it the best picture of the year, it will be have to be pretty impressive.
Bravo. God, these 3-hour, 2.5-hour movies. Whew.
Yeah, I think though it's not all bad. I don't mean to make it sound like that at all. I think there were definitely some brilliant editing choices, especially in sort of the flashback scenes, because we don't actually know if those events were meant to occur. I think there's some of them that were, some of them that are witnessed, right? The recording, very much something that can't be argued with, but then the editing choices made to cut away from the visual depiction of what's going on with that recording, and just have us listen as the tribunal, as they call it in France, is listening, the members of the jury, so to speak, for a sort of an American equivalent. As they are listening, we are listening as well, and we no longer get to know the truth of what those events are depicting. Is it who's inflicting the violence there that we hear in the recording. And I think there was other editing choices made around that kind of stuff, seeing both the blood spatter patterns coming from a blow to the head, as well as hitting the shed and then the snow melting off. I thought all that was absolutely brilliant and made you constantly question yourself. Great job there. It's definitely in place in a mystery thriller. But Yeah,
Sometimes when you
so
don't know the truth, you just have to decide on what feels right. That's kind of what they say in
as they
yeah.
say, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So why don't we go on into the next category here that it's up for? It's next category is best original screenplay. So we got some
Yep.
contenders here, The Holdovers, as well as May December, Past
Hmm.
Lives, Maestro, and of course Anatomy of a Fall, which Justine Triet and Arthur Harari are up for this one. So what do you think about the screenplay itself? How did they do with this one?
Yeah, so like I said, I really think that there's an authenticity that they wrote with here that makes you believe that these characters are real, that this
Mm-hmm.
courtroom drama that we're seeing actually
Mm-hmm.
occurred. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
I felt as if, oh man, this has got to be based on a real case
Right.
out there.
Mm-hmm.
So in doing some of the background research, we'll get into a little bit of that. But I watched a very interesting documentary about Justine Triet's process here, coming from her own lips. What she said in an interview with AFI is that the genesis of this movie actually started with her just simply thinking about what her daughter might think of her if she knew more about her background as a younger person and what she's done throughout her life leading up to her becoming her mother. Just as the character Danielle is forced to find out
All the
uh,
aspects of her life,
yeah,
yeah.
all the sort of terrible details of his mother's
Human
life as well.
details, yeah.
Right, human details, perfectly said, of the relationship between his
Mm-hmm.
mother and father. Stuff that they're not going to be discussing with their child, but he has to hear it
Yeah.
all, hear it from witnesses, hear it from the recordings, and it
Mm-hmm.
can be disturbing and jarring to him. So she was thinking of her daughter when she first started writing this. And it reminded
Yeah.
me of another movie that started out exactly the same way, totally different genre. But believe it or not, when they were coming up for the idea of Back to the Future, the same sorts of thoughts were occurring with the writers of that movie, the creators of that movie. Uh, uh, Bob Zemeckis was thinking of, what would happen if I met my dad
My dad,
as
yeah.
a teenager? What would I actually think of him? Would I hang out with him? What would I think of the choices that he made? And so it's interesting how you
Interestingly.
have two very different films
Yeah.
come from the same sort of idea. But yeah, so
one's one's much more rewatchable than the other.
yeah, absolutely. But I don't know, Chris, what did you think about the screenplay here and the writing and all that?
I think it was pretty brilliant. And again, it just kept you on edge the whole time. And I
Mhm.
hated that. It was the worst. It was the worst experience watching this movie. I felt guilty the whole time. I was sitting there watching this movie, like, why do I feel so guilty? This is a fictional story. Why am
Right.
I feeling like I did something wrong? She was able to
Like
make
you're
me
the one
feel
on
that way.
trial. Right.
Yeah. And so she does a very good job of making you feel that way. And again, and that helps with the performances and everything else. But yeah,
Sure.
coming down to the writing itself, the story and how it centers around our reality
Mhm.
and what's actually true and what we know and what we see and perceive and that sometimes you're not going to get the answer. It is
Right.
pretty powerful stuff, and to be able to show that and present that in a cohesive storyline is pretty impressive. And I think that they did an awesome job with that. Do I think this is going to win overall? We'll have to see. Let's see here. Out of the contenders, I mean, we still haven't seen the holdovers. But
Yeah.
original screenplay, I'd say we jury's still out on that. Oh, I guess I got a like right
I
there. But
Right, and I've heard that you really have to watch May December. I've heard that it's so good that, as I've said in other
mhm.
of our broadcasts, people feel like it was snubbed in some of the other awards. So if it's going to win anything, it's got to win this one to take home
Mhm.
an award. And I think it might just, it might just get that kind of vote. Like it's not up for any others. So we've got to give it screenplay, original
Yeah.
screenplay. So
Yeah. Yeah.
another interesting thing that I think the screenplay does for you is that the ending, of course, it goes beyond just the verdict, right? And Justine Triet in the same AFI documentary was talking about how she purposefully did that. She did not want to end on sort of this happy note of
Yeah.
the mother is acquitted and everything goes back to normal. She wanted to follow her home. She wanted the process to be there. And she said she was actually inspired by pictures that she saw of OJ and his family after the trial. And she tried to sort of imagine, what in the world do? You come home and no matter what, in the case of this movie, the father is dead. And no matter what you do, the mother has just had a whole lot of horrible details about herself revealed to not just the son, but the public. So you don't have a happy ending under those circumstances. And she wanted her characters to at least give hints as to what that reality would be like. And so we see a little bit of it, even through the celebration that she has at the bar with the lawyer and the rest of the people that are part of her legal team. And that awkward, like, will they, won't they kiss type of moment. I was like, holy crap, they better not kiss. That would just be the weirdest thing ever.
Yep, agreed.
And then she goes home to her son, and they both say they were like scared to come home.
Yeah.
Right. So, and of course it leaves it a little bit open. You could take the movie at face value that the tribunal said that she didn't do it. Or you could think a little bit more about it and go, okay, did the son actually make up that story at the end there about hearing his dad possibly convey some suicidal thoughts to him in the car? Or did he just was that authentic, I guess I should say? Or did he just make that up to save his mother because he saw that the prosecutor was not letting the dog reacted the same with the aspirin theory, and so maybe he just decided to save his mother. I don't know. I think that we got to get to that decision ourselves by the end of this broadcast here. But what did you think of that, about the screenplay ending there?
And that was probably my favorite scene of the entire movie, was right after the trial when they go to the celebration and she's with a lawyer and they're sitting down for the meal, drinking and laughing, and then she just stops. Sandra Hüller's character just stops and just like sinks in.
Yeah.
And then she talks about that. It's like, we won, and you feel like you deserve something, but there's nothing. There's no real winning.
There's no trophy.
And there's nothing. There's nothing when it comes to that. If you go through any sort of legal battle or anything like that in your life, even if you come out on top, you're still losing. You lose money, you lose time, you lose your nerves, your stress. There's no winning when it comes to that kind of stuff. And in a case like this, absolutely. This is not a slam dunk. Everything's back to normal. So I'm glad that they showed that part of this true reality that we have. Like, we don't see that in movies very often. So having that in a screenplay, well done. Showing us reality. I love it.
Well, and like you mentioned, Sandra Hüller sold it the whole time that she was on screen. So, of course, she's been nominated for our next nomination on the list here, Best Actress.
Best Actress.
And we've gone over this list so many times because so many of our Best Picture films have somebody nominated in this category. We've got Emma Stone for Poor Things, Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, Annette Bening, Naiad, Carey Mulligan, Maestro, and Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah.
Tough competition there.
Tough field.
But what do you think, brother?
I'm really on the fence because she did such an amazing job with this. Yeah. And I did hear that when she was talking to Justine Triet about this role, she asked point blank, I'm like, did she do it? Did she do it? and the
Yeah.
director would not tell her. So she had to act
The
just how
whole
she
film.
acted. The whole
She didn't
freaking
know.
film. She had no idea herself. And just knowing that too, and just the subtlety in her performance, there were times it's like, oh, I absolutely believe she did it. And then there's times where it's
Yeah.
like, no, she definitely didn't do it. And she sold that so well and so human and so just on point. Like, just this movie doesn't work without Sandra Hüller providing a phenomenal performance, and it's mind blowing what she did. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it now, like I said at the beginning, Killers of the Flower Moon, Lily Gladstone's got this in the bag. It's pretty damn close for me. These two performances are pretty damn close. It's a toss up for me now. Like, I still think Lily Gladstone did an incredible job in Killers of the Flower Moon, but I don't know. Sandra Hüller just delivered so much in this film, and
Yeah.
she carried the whole thing, and that's a feat. And she might, I see her potentially walking home with the award. What do you think?
Absolutely. She's got to act from a bunch of different angles here. And we've talked about the
Mm-hmm.
other people on this list being given the gift of a script
The
with
role.
range.
Yeah.
I think that this one does as well, even though we're covering a short
Mm-hmm.
period of time here compared to some of the other films. I think that it allows her to act as both an innocent and guilty woman. I think it allows her to act as
Yeah.
a woman that is being called to question simply sometimes because she is a woman. We
Yeah.
have all sorts of interesting
How she is as a
little
wife too, how she is as a mother,
right.
all of that's
Yeah.
being called into question for her too.
Yeah, and we have all these little interesting scenes that occur only within the French legal system, wouldn't occur over in America here, but where
No.
the witnesses are allowed to argue with the defendant in real
I know.
time, which puts her even more under pressure. She's
Yeah.
having to argue with the psychiatrist or with the investigative reporter. Like, she's not an expert in
Yeah.
these things, but she has
No.
to answer to them. And so that's got to make it incredibly stressful in real
Yeah.
life to be part of that process. And Sandra Hüller makes it feel like you're
Mhm.
witnessing real life.
And
So
she's
yeah.
fluent in French too. Like, she knows how to speak French, but her character is not as
Wow.
proficient. Yeah. And she asked the director too. She's like, why am I not, speaking in French?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I want you to feel alienated. I want you to feel out of this world. Like, you don't know what's going on. And this is just more pressure added onto you. That's why, you are a German living in France. You're out of your country and you speak English and you can barely speak French. So it's like, yeah, she pulled that off too very well.
She did.
Man,
Absolutely.
so great.
All right. So what's our second to last category here?
Second to last category on this. So we're going to be bringing up Best Director once
Justine
again.
again.
Justine Triet. She gets brought up a lot, and she should for her film. So she wrote it, she directed it, and it's pretty amazing that she is up for nomination for 2 categories herself in this. So
Yeah.
she's up for Best Director alongside Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest, which we have not watched yet. That's the only one on this list
Yeah.
we haven't seen.
Yeah, and as we've gone through them, I just keep, these make me anxious to see
Yeah.
the next ones. Like, oh man, I wonder how good
Yeah.
this one is too.
I just want to
So-
be able to compare them all.
Right, exactly. I think that, again, because he's an icon, because the movie is great, and because he just continues to bring more and more and more to his films, that I honestly think Christopher Nolan will get it. Martin Scorsese, very, very, very
Yeah,
much
close.
close second. So I don't think that Justine's got it being part of this list, but knowing that she was nominated over somebody like Bradley Cooper, who also wrote
Yeah.
and directed and starred in movie The Maestro, I think says a lot about
Hmm.
what the Academy thinks of the film that she delivered.
Yeah.
So I think she delivers a deliberate film that you can tell each one of the scenes that we're seeing was purposefully created with a lot of attention to detail, a lot of
Yeah.
attention to the procedural process, a lot of attention paid to what the audience will and will not be thinking in those moments. So, along with, set design and hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff, she has to put herself through that fourth wall and
Hmm.
think, okay, my audience member has got to be at this point in the film. Can't lead them too far. Can't
Yeah.
give away too much. And so because of all those types of choices, I think that she deserves to be on this list. I don't think
Yeah.
that she'll win it, but definitely an Oscar caliber directing job. So what did you think, Chris?
And just being on this list is high praise in itself. And being alongside somebody like Martin Scorsese, I mean, can you imagine as a director and you get your name alongside Martin Scorsese in
Yeah.
any nomination, you win. You're all winners. So
Even
I'm
if
very
he wins.
excited. Even he wins, but I'm
No,
very
I'm saying
excited to
even
see.
if he wins, you're still a winner just being up there.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yep,
Uh,
that's right. We got there. We got there. But
I'm
yeah,
spelling it right
I
out for everybody.
don't think I don't think that she's walking home with the award just because. I mean, we were talking about Oppenheimer and how it's a nearly perfect film, and one of the reasons why it's a nearly perfect film is because Christopher Nolan's at the top of his game, and so those two kind of always go hand in hand: best picture and best director. You can't have one really without the other. They go hand in hand.
It's
So if we're
happened.
looking at the yeah, it has, but not in my book. It's like if we are rating Oppenheimer so highly, I
Yeah.
don't rate this movie as highly as Oppenheimer. I can't not to fault the director or anything. I just can't see her
Hmm.
beating out somebody that produced a damn near perfect film. You know,
Yeah.
who directed a perfect film. That's not to say that this movie wasn't amazing, and it is. It's a high honor to be on this list, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing whatever she produces next and whatever she directs next, because
Oh
I
yeah.
think she's on the rise, just like Bradley Cooper, always improving upon what he's doing, honing his craft. Her name's up there now. Her name's on there.
Hmm.
She's going to get really good projects, and it's exciting. She'll get to do more. She'll get to create more, and it's going to be really cool to get to see that. And her name's probably going to be up for best director again at some point.
Yeah.
Her movie's probably going to be best picture again. One of her next movies is probably going to be that up there again.
Hmm.
Possibly. So it's going to be really cool to see that. But yeah, at the end of the day, I don't think she's walking home with the award. I really do think that Christopher Nolan's got it this year. And
Hmm.
yeah, but good movie,
Yeah. That
and
kind
I
of
applaud it.
that kind of segues into the final nomination of Best Picture, and we've gone through
Dun,
the
dun,
list so many
dun.
times.
Yeah, we have.
I won't say it
We're
again, but
doing it here on Fatherly Fandom. So
but yeah, I think because I can't necessarily recommend it to everybody,
true.
then it doesn't fall within my standards of what would be the best picture of the year.
Yeah.
It's interesting when we were talking about the Rotten Tomatoes scores from last week's movie that I brought up as we're promoting this broadcast, Anatomy of a Fall, that
Hmm.
the audience and the critics actually agree. They were both in the 90s. And so I thought, well, we're going to have a very entertaining film here, and I
Yeah.
have to say, I don't know if I agree with either the audience or the critics on
Okay.
this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. And if you
So,
guys didn't know, it is 96% on the tomatometer and 90% for the audience score. But if you look at the ratings for the audience score, this is probably why it's so high. It's like 100 plus. It's not very many. I mean, it's not in the thousands or
okay,
anything, It's a
Sure.
very low number, so that's not
Not
very
that
many
many people
people.
have seen it. Makes sense.
So
Okay.
that's why, and that probably would be a lot less, a lot lower if more people have seen this, honestly. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so, just because as a film, how accessible is it? It takes a commitment mentally and time wise, just physically sitting there through, kind of a longer movie.
hmm
And I think that you come out of it uncomfortable, and you're
yeah,
meant to. I
yeah,
think
you do.
Justine Triet is meaning for us to be questioning our own versions of truth and what actually happened in this movie.
hmm
And that can be an uncomfortable spot to be in. You and I
Yeah.
both were subjected to the season or series finale of Lost. Who knows what happened? Um, so you don't come off quite as upset, I would say, at the end of this movie as Lost, but
It's
still,
been
it's
years watching the damn thing.
right, right, right. So that was completely tangential of me, but still. I think that it's not going to be a movie for everyone, and because of that, not Best Picture this year. But as you
hmm
said, I think it will have the world watching and waiting for what Justine Triet creates next. I
hmm
myself can't wait for it, so I'm looking forward to whatever that is.
All right. And before we get into our rating, did you do it? What do you
So
think?
I literally holding my breath at the end as her son was cradling her. Actually, in
hmm
several different parts of the movie. One was whenever she's going down the road, like sort of crying, as her son
Yeah.
is saying, I don't want you to be here right now. I thought
Oh,
as they're
oh,
showing the road and stuff, I thought she's gonna get in a wreck. This damn movie's
that,
gonna
yeah,
end like
same.
that.
I know. I was like,
Like we're
no.
not gonna know anything. But then I thought, okay, well, now that the movie is lingering past what we normally see in mystery movies
hmm
centered around a courtroom drama, we're past the verdict. We're kind of going on to the home. That her son, while holding her, is going to say something like, "I did it for you," or "I told them that for you," or
For you.
something to
Yeah.
indicate that
Yep.
he made up part of
hmm
his testimony. And then I thought, okay, that didn't happen. So the very last scene, she's going to walk out into the living room and reach into the back of that piano and pull out some blunt object with blood all over it, and like go throw it in the dumpster or something. But that didn't happen either.
Nope.
So I
No.
was like, okay, we literally are left with,
hmm
whatever, whatever decision we want to make about the truth, which of course was the point of the movie. So
Yeah.
that I think that he fell. I
Mm.
think that it was. Nope, I'm taking it back.
Right?
I think that it was suicide. The reason that I think it, I
hmm
remember trying to go over this before we
Yeah.
recorded, but I think it was that 50 Cent song. I think that him play
PIMP too. My
absolutely.
God. I can't believe we didn't mention this
I'm gonna
before,
have that
guys.
stuck in my head for the
That
rest of the week.
that was excruciating to
Oh
listen to in the
man,
beginning of the movie.
yeah.
My God. And it's like,
Yeah, and
mm,
it must have been. I should have researched that part of it more. It must have been a cover because
it was.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit different tonality and stuff.
hmm
But as the prosecution, says during the film, it's an aggressive song and
yeah.
chauvinistic for sure. But yeah, so I think that he plays that because he hears her down there flirting with the journalist, and that is the thing that pushes him literally over the edge. Is that he thinks it's all going to be happening again, and that he's just stuck in this loop that he will never get out of.
Yeah.
And he's been to those dark places mentally before, and he makes
hmm
the decision in that moment, she's never going to stop. And
Yeah.
so I'm just going to do what I've wanted to
hmm
do for a while, and throw myself out of there. He watches from the window, sees his son leave, um and does the deed. But what about you, Chris? What's your verdict?
And that's the thing about suicidal tendencies and everything. They can come up in people that you would have no idea that that's what they're thinking about or what's happening. You would have no idea. I mean, how many celebrities have we seen where it was just full on shock that they took their lives? Right. And the same thing with this. And I think if we look at this film, and I was contemplating the title, and I didn't think, I was looking at the title, and I'm like, why is it exactly called Anatomy of a Fall? Is it really just about the fall itself and the consequences and evaluating the murder situation? I don't think that was the intent. And I think the story, the anatomy of a fall, is really about the relationship, the marriage between these two individuals and everything, and the fall of this relationship that just destroyed itself throughout, and the consequences of that, and the consequences of having to live with somebody else, and that give and take. And sometimes one partner will feel like they're giving so much and so much and so much, and then they can't take it anymore. And that's why I do believe that he committed suicide and he fell, and she didn't kill him.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what I come across, because it's like, at the end of the day, this man did feel very defeated and everything. It's very clear in some of the video that they show and everything like that. And he was doing his best to keep it all together. And I love that shot too at the end of the movie when she's cuddling up with the dog. And it's just like, and he was talking about the dog as himself in the car with his son. And he's like, yeah, one day, he's not going to be here anymore because he gives himself and he's loving to you, but he's not going to be here anymore. And it's the same thing that a dog does. A dog loves you unconditionally, gives everything that he can to you. You can poison your damn dog like they did in this movie, and that dog will still love you.
That was great acting by the dog. I don't know how they did
gosh.
that. How did they make the dog look like that?
Right? I had no idea, but I was glad. And this is a standard that I have, Matt, tangent time for us. But a standard I have with any movie, I will rate your movie way lower if you kill a dog. That movie is terrible in my book. It's like it would take an epic story for me to forgive a movie for killing a dog. So I'm glad that they didn't kill the dog. I would have rated this a lot lower if they did that. But back to what I was saying.
Sorry, Marley and me.
Yeah, seriously.
Sorry, old Yeller.
Yeah, again. Yeah, I rate those very low because you do not kill a dog in movies. Kill as many people as you want. Don't kill the dog. So, but she was holding the dog because, like, that dog was a kind of a representation of her husband in a way at the end, and that culminating story about this situation, and she was taking comfort in this dog, and the dog was finally able to rest himself as well. And that's kind of the takeaway here, is we as people need to be more understanding, more forgiving with each other, more lenient, more open and receptive to what other people need and what we need as people in relationships, in friendships, in family, and so that we can truly connect, and something like this never happens. And I think that that's kind of the moral of this story is, neither side is wrong, neither side is right, but I think that, like, at the end of the day, in any relationship, it's a give and take, and you've got to be able to give some, and you've got to be able to take some, and you got to be able to be open to that other person's feelings and to bring them in. And this guy obviously was holding all that stuff in.
He was past
dealing with so much stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think that's very nicely stated. So, with all that being said, I think we've come to the end, right?
I think we have.
Just like the film, though, I'd like to leave our audience with one last thing.
Okay.
One last question for all of you to discuss, and leave your answers in the comments below. We think that he killed himself, as sad as that may be. Do you think that he planned his suicide to incite a trial and hopeful conviction? Did he plan to have her arrested? Did he set it all up?
Man,
The recording has maybe some evidence of that,
Yeah.
maybe some animosity that boiled over throughout the course of their relationship could have led to that, but maybe not. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
So
Question for the age. What a jerk
Yeah.
if he did do that.
well, I don't know. Let's
Yeah.
let our audience decide. But yeah, check us out on all of the different forms of social
You see
media
'em
that
all.
you see around here.
Yeah.
And coming to you every Friday mornings, we're going to have another movie or TV show review. This
Yeah.
Friday, who are we looking at, Chris?
We're
What's
looking
the
at
movie?
Holdovers. We're finally going to see Paul Giamatti in the Holdovers. So we're going to do that Friday morning. And then what are we going to be doing on Friday?
Then we're also going to be taking the time, which think about the busy lives that all of you live out there. We've got them too.
We do got
To
'em.
watch a second film because it's the second part of an epic story that maybe will continue on to further sequels. We will see. But Dune Part 2 coming out on Friday or Thursday night if you decide to go see it early.
Yeah.
We will be watching it and giving you our full breakdown and review. Of course, spoiler-free section, because we don't want to ruin the opening weekend experience for those of you that go out and see it as well. But
Right.
yes, all that would be coming at you Friday night, live, and being posted on YouTube over the weekend.
See, that's the quality content that you get here at Fatherly Family. So if you want more of that quality content, please subscribe to our channel. We're giving you two things on
Double
Friday,
feature.
man. Double featuring it up. I'm going to be recording, and as soon as we are done recording the Holdovers, I'm going to run my ass over and watch Dune Part 2. And that takes up most of my day before I have to pick up my kids. And then we're going to be talking about it that night. So we're doing this for you guys. Well, actually, we're not really doing it for you guys. We're doing it for each other because we like talking about movies. And this is just fun for us. But because we have fun with this, we have a lot of plans in the future too. I think one of the big plans, Matt, you and I talked about, is eventually what we want to do, especially with this venue, is start to make our own short films. And if we can get enough subscribers, enough people to get on board with this channel, building up this community, we're a little bit closer to making our own content, writing our own stuff, producing our own little short films. And that is the passion project of us. We used to have a production company called Paradox Production back in the day, and I would love to get something like that started back up. And yeah, that's the ultimate goal. So if you want to see us go a little bit further and produce some really cool stuff, please subscribe to the channel.
Let's be totally honest, folks. If you want to see us on next year's list for Best Picture, or maybe we'll just go with like Best Short Film.
There you go. Maybe Best Short Film.
Yeah.
We could be on that list, and it's because of you. It will be because of you,
all
and
of
you guys
you
helping
there.
us out. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So we'd love to do that. We'd love to produce extra stuff for you, and yeah, that's our dream.
It's on the vision board.
It is definitely on the vision
board. Let's make it happen, everyone.
It's my 5-year plan right there. Get a damn short film made with my best friend. So there we go. Right. Thank you guys, everybody, for joining today. I don't think anybody came on the live yet. I only did this on YouTube today. I didn't do it on Facebook or any of the other ones. So,
sorry for everybody's waiting over there.
I know. They're like, where is it? Where did the thing go? Usually only people show up on YouTube.
But Monday at 9:30. What?
I know. Where is this guy? But
if you were one of those people, tell us about it in the comments below as well.
Please do. So please enjoy this after the fact. It will be posted and everything like that, so you can see all of our stuff there. So anyways, that's it for us, guys. Thanks for joining. We'll do the little outro here. And from our families to yours, have a good one.
Have a good one.
So thanks for joining me today on Fatherly Fandom. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And from our families to yours, have a good one. And may the Force be with you.